wanted you to see some of the clothing design that I sculpted and that were actually not seen in the final rendering in the final NFT. So sometimes we spend a lot of time on things that aren't necessarily going to make it to the outcome. But that's just the process of being an artist. Sometimes it's satisfying, it's practice or control. There's a bit of getting the elbow grease and the gears going and the rust off. So I wanted to explain a bit about the various options that you can have when you're sculpting, when you're making things in 3D. You really could go on forever. So I created this mask, I wanted to make sort of a visor, lens, and have it transparent. And then I wanted to, I'll shut off the lens really quick. I even had all this going on, this armor. And it was interesting because I was going with this sort of a hunch, she's graceful, she's a woman that's soft and sensual, but also strong and a warrior, and she also has to protect herself. And it was just, it's a very edgy subject to talk about, but while I was creating this was when the war in Russia and the Ukraine started. So somehow, subconsciously or consciously, I don't know, but somehow I started to just create sort of this armor, battle armor, and things were pretty emotional and very difficult for everybody, and still is for many people. And it was very, I can't explain it really, so I started to make this. In the final piece, I chose to not have that armor. I did want to animate this sort of face, this mask. I wanted to animate it and assembling, biomechanical, just in front of her face. So it would be some sort of futuristic, ability to mechanism to work in that fashion. None of this, it's fantasy, so it could be some sort of computer-aided power or energy that can transform her attire and her protective gear. These, for instance, these bubbles over here on the side are like water, like liquid just floating and sort of moving around like a lava lamp. That's what I wanted to do, is have them animated. In the final result, I think I actually do. Excuse me 1 second. I'm gonna load up. I have to go find this. Yeah. All right. So sometimes we need patience, but thanks for bearing with me. Yeah, I made these sort of liquidy water globular shapes, and I would love to have them actually be transparent, moving around in sort of a slow motion way. These are just some different renders of the mask. Okay, so for instance, this is another idea. I wanted to have some sort of electricity moving around, swirling around her within an animation. But time did not permit, so I did not go ahead with an animation. I possibly will in the future. These are just early, almost somber looks where it's just something's going on there a little deeper, and I think a little more sad or concerned. I was going through different emotions while I was sculpting this whole piece, and I was just trying to find the right mood and the right answer to whatever this question. I just, I was going with a hunch. That's how I work. Until I could feel that there's a purpose or a reason why I'm doing it, sometimes it could just be simply for fun, just to enjoy it and the beauty of art or shapes or color. But other times I strike upon some sort of emotional reason why I'm doing what I do. And I try to evoke that as best I can. It's just another look where she's all white, no skin tones. You know, you can see here it's a very crude sculpture, very preliminary, like beginning, you know, and I just kind of like keep going until I find what works. This is ZBrush, like just the bare bones of the shapes and the form, not necessarily the texture or the skin tones or the lighting, but just, so that's why it's all glossy. It has one glossy material across everything. Here I was trying to kind of simulate leaves cast shadowed onto her skin, so there'd be a light like the sunlight, and then she's possibly under a tree. I have her eyes over to the sides, you know, and I didn't go with that look. This is a little more like purpley, like side view. So there's just so many options, you know. After you do the sculpture, this is a good view of how you can signify what's glossy. These lips are very shiny and glossy compared to the skin is more waxy. So you can, in software like Blender, you could signify through black and white what is more glossy, what is more flat and not shiny. Something I was very happy about in this sculpture, I created the shine where the wet of the eyes between the eyelid and the eyeball. So it's like the tear ducts and the shine. I don't want to get too technical into how you do that, but you basically have to make a shape, a mesh, set it to transparent so it reflects glossiness and shines, but it's transparent, and it's almost like a bridge between the eyeball and the lid. So it's this tiny little shape. I possibly could go out and show you that, but I won't get into that because we don't have really a lot of time, honestly. But yeah, this is pretty much like the whole body, you know. I have a lot of parts that were never used in the final image, and that's just how it is. I mean, I have to save it for another day or possibly animate it, but you know, you can only fit so much inside of one piece. Possibly making her like a very large sculpture, like something you would see in Egypt, like the Sphinx, you know, where she's just a huge, massive, like chiseled out of stone or something. And I kind of wanted like trees and foliage all around her, like growth by, you know, botanical growth growing all around her, like possibly some birds flying, anything, you know, vines, monkeys swinging from vines. Like I was trying to figure out what do I want to do, possibly do that for another piece of art. But yeah, this is the final image. This is the final NFT. I sold on Foundation, gratefully, for 1.5 ETH, and that was about 6 months ago when the ETH was nice and high. I think that was around 4,400 USD. Gratefully sold to Lil Fish, Lil Fish. I can't remember his Twitter handle at this very moment. I apologize. But he is the owner, and he helped support me to be able to do more and to create more life, you know, to dive into my imagination and to follow my passion. So that's why it's just amazing, you know, to be able to have the opportunity to create personal art. You know, it was hard back in the day where you could only do it through fine art galleries. Hard to get into that kind of scene. I mean, it's not easy getting in the NFT scene either, or collected, but when somebody does love your work and finds that you have value and they just fall in love with your piece, it's a great honor to be able to have that exchange of value. So then you can just do what you were born to do, you know. So this is just up and close. Appreciate you. It's just a little behind the scenes mashup of how I created Queen Lyrica. I'll be having, this is all fully sculpted in 3D and rendered sculpted in ZBrush, rendered in Blender. And thank you so much. So just believe in whatever you have, your concepts, your ideas. Don't wait too long. Don't research too much. You know, you can gather what you need as resources, but there is a point where you have to just go with your gut and push forward and keep going, and then something will reveal itself and you'll start to unravel whatever that destiny is supposed to be, and it'll manifest in front of you. But just don't give up, because this was a really hard piece to do, and if I stopped way back when some of the crude sculptures were in development, I would have never got to this point. So, and thanks for watching me. Peace. Check me out. So I'm at Brian LiFe everywhere on social media, at Brian LiFe, BrianLife. My website's brianlifeart.com. SuperRare. Really want to get down, so let's do this. Peace.